In the vast expanse of the galactic arm, where stars burn like the embers of ancient gods, we Zar'keth have reigned supreme for 12,000 cycles. I, Grand Admiral Vexorn, have personally commanded the annexation of 17 star systems and supervised the subjugation of 32 sentient species. My 6 primary hearts beat with pride at what our glorious empire has accomplished. Our technological supremacy, our biological perfection, our cultural sophistication, all unmatched in the known universe. Another report from the Diplomatic Corps' Grand Admiral, says Lieutenant Mazur, his secondary eyes blinking in that irritating pattern that suggests anxiety. The Proxima Confederation is requesting another extension on their tribute deadline. I wave my upper appendage dismissively, the jeweled rings of my station catching the purple light of our command center. Triple the interest and inform them that further delays will result in let's call it a cultural renovation mission. Mazur's breathing slits flutter in amusement. We both know what that means. The last civilization that underwent our cultural renovation now exists only in our historical archives. And what of that troublesome situation in Sector 9G? What are they called again? The mammals with the absurd water dependency? Humans, sir. Terran colony Nova Esperanza. Ah yes, the wet-skinned primates, I say, my upper mouth forming what our species considers a smile. Remind me why we bothered with them again. Captain Dre's AKKs, her ceremonial armor clicking with each movement. Resource acquisition, sir. Their colony world contained significant quantities of rare isotopes, and they were developing some interesting propulsion technology. Were they now? How quaint. I stretch my central limb, examining the bioluminescent patterns that indicate my perfect health and superior genetic lineage. I recall they put up quite the pathetic resistance. How many cycles ago was that conquest? 30 standard cycles, sir. Drea's AK replies. It was my first deployment as a junior tactical officer. I nod, memories returning of that insignificant campaign. Yes, their planetary defense systems were laughably primitive, and their governor, some female with an ornate head covering, begged for mercy. I laugh, the sound echoing through my breathing chambers. What did she call herself? A princess or queen or some such nonsense title? Princess Elara Vega Mazur reads from his data terminal. According to records, she escaped during the final bombardment. Intelligence suspected she fled toward the outer rim, but she was never considered a significant threat. Of course not. What threat could a single human pose to the Zar'keth Empire? My secondary mouth snorts, releasing a puff of our sacred vapor. Their entire species is barely space-worthy. Emotional, fragile creatures with ridiculously short lifespans and primitive technology. The command center hums with activity as my subordinates attend to the business of managing an empire spanning thousands of light years. None of us give another thought to Nova Esperanza or its lost princess. Why would we? In our vast conquest ledger, that human colony was merely a footnote, a brief, unremarkable entry among countless others. The Emperor has requested your presence at the Centennial Dominance celebration, sir, says my executive aide, Cruel Vor. You are to present the subjugation records for the last 100 cycles. Excellent. The conquest of Nova Esperanza will make for an amusing anecdote during the banquet, I say, rising from my command throne. Perhaps I will mention how their warriors wept openly when we destroyed their primary settlement. The Emperor always enjoys stories of inferior species displaying their weakness. As I prepare to depart, I glance at the strategic display dominating the center of the command deck. The magnificent Zar'keth Empire glows in pulsating purple, spreading across the galactic map like a superior lifeform consuming lesser organisms. At the edges, tiny pinpricks of light represent other civilizations' temporary irritants awaiting our inevitable expansion. The universe provides for the worthy, and the Zar'keth are most worthy of all. I recite, the ancient words of our first emperor flowing naturally from my primary mouth. My subordinates respond in unison, from dust they come, to dust they return. Only the Zar'keth endure. How secure we felt in our supremacy. How certain of our eternal dominance. How utterly, catastrophically wrong we were. If only we had remembered that ancient military wisdom: never leave an enemy's royal line alive, especially not a queen with nothing left to lose and 3 decades to plan her revenge. The Centennial Dominance celebration lasted for 7 standard days, a glorious display of Zar'keth's superiority that left even me, a veteran of countless imperial ceremonies, impressed. The Emperor's final speech about our manifest destiny to rule all sentient life was particularly moving. I may have shed secretions from my tertiary emotion glands, though I would deny this if questioned by my subordinates. 2 days after returning to my command vessel, the inevitable conquest, the first reports arrived. Grand Admiral, we are receiving strange data from Outpost Vex 12, says Communications Officer Tra-Lon, her neck frills pulsing with confusion. The automated systems are detecting unknown signal patterns at the edge of our territorial boundary. I dismiss it with a flick of my ceremonial scepter. Space noise. Cosmic background radiation. Some primitive species testing communication technology. Sir, the patterns appear deliberate. They repeat in non-random sequences that suggest artificial origin. Is there a translation? A message? Demands? Threats? I ask, already bored with the conversation. No, sir, just pulses. Binary sequences that don't match any known communication protocol in our databases. I sigh dramatically, releasing a cloud of status indicating pheromones that make junior officers nearby lower their eye stalks in deference. Forward it to the Xenolinguistic Division and forget about it. Probably just the Jaxiri Trade Consortium testing new encryption for their smuggling operations. 3 days later, Outpost Vex 12 goes silent. Complete communication blackout, sir, reports Tactical Officer Vraxiul, her exoskeletal plates clicking nervously. No emergency beacon, no distress signals, nothing. The entire station and its crew of 246, just gone. Now this is slightly concerning. Not alarming, nothing truly alarms the Zar'keth military elite, but concerning enough to warrant my attention. When was the last standard check-in? I demand, adjusting my posture to display mild interest. 17 hours ago. All systems normal, routine patrol reports, nothing unusual. Then, approximately 6 hours ago, all communications ceased mid-transmission. I tap my primary digits against my command console. Dispatch a scout vessel. Class 3 alert protocol. And send a report to Imperial Command noting possible pirate activity in the sector. Perhaps those Orion mercenaries have grown bold again. The scout vessel never returns. 2 more outposts go dark over the next 48 hours. Each time the same pattern, strange signal pulses, then complete silence. No distress calls, no battle damage reports, no emergency evacuation notices. Just silence spreading across our border like a disease. The Emperor himself contacts me, his holographic form towering in the command center. Even through the projection, his displeasure creates an instinctive fear response in my tertiary nervous system. Grand Admiral Vexorn, he begins, his imperial voice resonating with dangerous undertones. Explain why 3 of our outposts have ceased to exist under your watch. I bow low, all 4 of my arms extended in the ceremonial gesture of absolute submission. Your Radiance, we believe dissident elements are testing our response protocols. Perhaps the Cygnus Rebellion has acquired new stealth technology, or... I am not interested in your theories, Admiral. I am interested in results. You will personally investigate this situation. Take the 7th Fleet. If this is indeed a rebellion or pirate action, crush it with such overwhelming force that no species dares challenge us again for 1,000 cycles. It shall be done, Your Radiance. I maintain my submissive posture until his hologram disappears. Within 6 hours, the 7th Fleet is assembled. 32 warships, including my flagship, the inevitable Conquest, prepare to depart for the edge of Imperial space. The display of force is excessive for mere pirates or rebels, but the Emperor's command leaves no room for measured response. Set course for Outpost Vex 12. Maximum propulsion, I order, settling into my command throne. And prepare a special assault unit for station reclamation. You believe we will find survivors, sir? Asks Mazur hopefully. I emit a derisive sound from my secondary breathing apparatus. Of course not. But we might find evidence of who dared to attack Imperial property. And then we will hunt them down and make examples of them. As our fleet enters hyperspace, I dictate notes for my eventual victory report. This little inconvenience will make an excellent addition to my military record. Vexorn, crusher of the border insurgents. Vexorn, the Emperor's swift justice. Tactical assessment, sir? Asks Captain Draz A.K. Pirates. Obviously, I reply confidently. Oh, or perhaps that splinter group of Centauri rebels. Their leader has been making increasingly bold statements about freedom from Imperial oppression. Aha! As if any species truly desires freedom from our enlightened rule. And the unusual signal patterns? A primitive attempt to confuse our sensors, nothing more. Their technological fumbling will be their undoing. Prepare the execution chambers. I want prisoners for public discipline broadcasts. If only I had known then what waited for us at the edge of space. If only I had remembered the face of that human princess from 30 years ago. If only I had taken seriously the whispers from the void. But we Zar'keth have never been good at recognizing our mistakes until they arrive with vengeance in their hearts and weapons in their hands. 3 days of hyperspace travel brought the 7th Fleet to the edge of Imperial territory. Our warships, resplendent in the purple and gold of Zar'keth dominance, you opt out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, a testament to our military precision and technological superiority. Scan the area. Full spectrum analysis, I command, my forearms positioned in the traditional stance of a warlord expecting victory. Scanning, sir, responds the sensor operator, her ocular stalks fixed on the holographic display. No immediate signs of hostile vessels. Outpost Vex 12 is, sir. The outpost is simply gone. Gone? Clarify. My tone remains level, though my secondary hearts increase their pumping rate. There's debris consistent with our station architecture, but the outpost itself has been completely destroyed. No life signs, no emergency beacons. Nothing but fragments. Captain Draz A.K. approaches my command platform. Pirates wouldn't have the firepower to completely obliterate an Imperial outpost, sir. Even with our minimal defensive capabilities at these border stations, it would take significant military-grade weaponry. I tap my claws against my ceremonial armor. The Cygnus Rebellion, then. They must have acquired new technology from one of our rivals. The Arcturus Confederation, perhaps. Or the Thalassian Dominion, sir. The sensor operator's voice rises to an inappropriately emotional pitch. Multiple objects approaching from Sector 12R. They were masked somehow, our scans didn't detect them until now. Show me, I demand, rising from my command throne. The main view screen activates, and what I see causes my primary breathing apparatus to momentarily stall. Ships. Hundreds of them, no thousands. A vast armada emerging from what appears to be some form of cloaking field. Their design is unfamiliar, sleek and predatory, with none of the ornate flourishes that mark most spacefaring civilizations' vessels. At the center of the formation is a massive flagship, easily twice the size of my own inevitable conquest. Identify them, I order, a slight tremor in my tertiary vocal cords. Silence from my crew. I said identify them. I repeat, louder this time. We cannot, sir, admits the tactical officer. The configuration doesn't match any known species in our database. The energy signatures are unusual, powerful, but unlike anything we have encountered. For the first time in my illustrious career, I feel something akin to uncertainty. Not fear, Grand Admirals of the Zar'keth Empire do not feel fear, but perhaps a distant cousin to it. Open a communication channel. All frequencies. Let's see who dares to amass a fleet at the borders of the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known. The communications officer complies, her digits trembling slightly as she works her console. Attention, unidentified vessels. This is Grand Admiral Vexorn of the Zar'keth Empire. You have encroached upon Imperial territory. Identify yourselves immediately or face the consequences of your trespass. For 23 agonizing seconds, there is no response. Then the main view screen changes. A face appears. A human face. Female, according to their bizarre binary biology. Middle-aged by their pathetically short lifespan standards. Her skin is the color of pale soil, her hair a striking silver-white pulled back in an elaborate style. But it's her eyes that capture my attention, cold, hard, and filled with something I rarely see directed at a Zar'keth. Absolute contempt. Grand Admiral Vexorn, she says, her voice surprisingly steady and commanding. How convenient. I had hoped to encounter you eventually, though I didn't expect the pleasure so soon. I straighten my posture, all forearms positioned to display my rank and authority. You know who I am, yet I am at a disadvantage. Identify yourself and state your purpose. A smile crosses her face, not a pleasant one. You truly don't recognize me, do you? How typical of your kind. So assured of your superiority that you can't even remember the faces of those you destroy. Something stirs in my memory. Something about this human seems familiar. I am Queen Elara Vega of Nova Esperanza, she continues, the name hitting me like a physical blow. Or rather, I was, before your empire reduced my world to ash 30 years ago. Murmurs of confusion spread across my command deck. I silence them with a gesture. Princess Vega, I say, intentionally using her former title. What an unexpected reunion. I was informed you had fled to the Outer Rim. A pity your escape was successful. It seems you have wasted 30 years nurturing grievances instead of accepting the natural order of things. Her smile widens. Not princess anymore, Admiral. Queen. And I didn't flee to nurse grievances. I fled to build this. She gestures around her, and the camera view widens to show her command center, a marvel of technology that even I must admit appears impressive. While your empire grew fat and complacent, I have been building, learning, gathering allies, preparing. For what exactly? I ask, though a growing discomfort suggests I already know the answer. For justice, for vengeance, for the complete and utter destruction of the Zar'keth Empire. Her voice remains calm, matter of fact, as if she's discussing nothing more significant than a minor trade negotiation. Your outposts were just the beginning. Consider them a small down payment on a debt 30 years overdue. I force a laugh from my primary mouth. You and what army, human? A handful of ships cannot hope to challenge the might of. Tactical, she interrupts, speaking to someone off-screen. Show them. The view pulls back further, revealing not the interior of her ship, but an external view of her fleet. The thousands of vessels I'd already seen are joined by thousands more, dropping their cloaking fields to reveal an armada that stretches beyond visual range. For the first time in my long and distinguished career, I, Grand Admiral Vexorn, am speechless. That army, Queen Elara says softly. We will speak again soon, Admiral. Very soon. The communication ends, leaving only the image of her impossible fleet facing our suddenly inadequate formation. Orders, sir? Asks Captain Dreaz A.K., her voice barely above a whisper. I have none to give. The Imperial Palace on Zar'kethia Prime has always filled me with pride. Its towering spires of living crystal, the massive parade grounds where 1,000,000 warriors can assemble in perfect formation, the victory archives, where the subjugation of countless species is meticulously documented. Today, however, as I hurry through its grand corridors, I feel only urgency. The Emperor will see you now, Grand Admiral, announces the Royal Chamberlain, his ceremonial staff striking the floor 3 times. Though his radiance expresses displeasure at your unexpected return from your mission. I stride into the throne chamber, my footfalls echoing across the cavernous space. The Emperor sits upon the domination seat, surrounded by the High Council and various sycophants. Grand Admiral Vexorn, The Emperor's voice booms, his secondary and tertiary mouths emitting the traditional hissing of disapproval. Explain why my 7th Fleet has abandoned its position without authorization. I perform the prostration of urgent petition, all 4 arms spread wide, my primary head touching the polished floor. Your Radiance, I bring grave news. A massive fleet has assembled at our borders. Thousands of warships, technology that rivals or exceeds our own, led by a human, the former princess of Nova Esperanza. A ripple of laughter spreads through the court. Humans, the war minister Zexkal can barely contain his amusement. Those fragile bipeds with their pathetic lifespans and emotional decision-making? The Nova Esperanza colony was conquered 30 cycles ago, adds the intelligence director. Their technology was centuries behind ours. Their weapons couldn't penetrate even our civilian vessel shields. The Emperor raises one massive hand, silencing the court. Exorn, you have commanded my fleets for nearly a century. Have you lost your nerve? Or perhaps your primary mind is suffering degradation? Your Radiance, I witnessed this armada with my own eyes. The human claims to seek vengeance for her world. She has already destroyed 3 outposts. More laughter. 1 human female? The Emperor's amusement shifts to annoyance. This is what causes the great Vexorn to flee back to the capital? Perhaps it is time to consider your replacement. The words strike me like physical blows, but I persist. Your Radiance, I beg you to recall what happened during the Nova Esperanza campaign. We underestimated them then too. My mind flashes back 30 years. The initial stages of the invasion had gone perfectly according to plan. Our ships easily disabled their orbital defenses. Our warriors met minimal resistance as we established landing zones. But then, their resistance was unconventional, I continue. They employed guerrilla tactics our military doctrine hadn't anticipated. They sacrificed entire cities to lure our forces into ambushes. Their final stand lasted 3 times longer than our tactical projections. Yet they fell, as all inferior species must, the Emperor dismisses. Yes, your Radiance, but at a cost of 17 warships and over 20,000 warriors. Far more than projected for such a primitive world. The court historian steps forward, his ancient exoskeleton creaking. If I may, your Radiance. The Admiral speaks truth about the Nova Esperanza campaign. Our historical records show it as a victory, but tactical analyses classified the human resistance as surprisingly effective. The Emperor considers this for a moment, then waves dismissively. One colonial world with primitive technology versus the greatest empire in galactic history? Even if this human has somehow acquired ships and weapons, the outcome is inevitable. Dispatch the 3rd and 5th fleets to the border, he continues. If this human wishes to play at war, we shall oblige her briefly before returning to matters of actual importance. Your Radiance, I try once more, desperation creeping into my voice. This is no mere border skirmish. The human fleet numbers in the thousands, perhaps tens of thousands. Impossible. The war minister shouts. No species could construct such a force without our knowledge. The Emperor rises from his throne, towering over the assembly. Enough. Your cowardice dishonors your station, Vexorn. You will accompany the reinforcement fleets and demonstrate proper Zar'keth military resolve. Should you fail again, do not bother returning. I rise slowly, defeat weighing on my shoulders. As you command, your Radiance. As I exit the throne chamber, my executive aide Cruel Vor approaches cautiously. They don't believe you. No, I reply quietly. Just as we didn't believe humans could withstand our initial assault 30 years ago. Just as we didn't believe their princess when she warned us of consequences as we bombarded her world. What did she say back then? Cruel Vor asks. I remember her face on the communication screen, young but determined even as her world burned around her. The stars themselves will witness your reckoning. At the time, it seemed like the empty threat of a defeated enemy. Now, I'm not so sure. 3 days after my humiliation in the Imperial throne room, the combined might of the 3rd, 5th, and 7th fleets assembled at the border. 112 capital ships, 470 cruisers, over 1,000 support vessels. The greatest concentration of Zar'keth military power seen in a generation. A magnificent sight, is it not, Grand Admiral? War Minister Zexcal stands beside me on the observation deck of our new command vessel, the Eternal Dominance. This should quell your concerns about some upstart human and her toys. I say nothing, watching the endless formation of warships through the panoramic viewport. Impressive, yes? Enough? I'm no longer certain. Your silence is concerning, Vexorn, the War Minister continues. The Emperor sent me personally to observe your performance, to ensure your resolve has returned. My resolve was never in question, Minister, I reply stiffly. Only my assessment of the threat. An assessment we shall soon prove was grossly exaggerated. He turns to the communications officer. Broadcast our standard ultimatum to the human vessels. Demand immediate surrender and... The viewport suddenly fills with blinding light. What was that? Demands Zexcal. The tactical display shows a section of our formation 23 ships simply vanishing. Unknown weapon discharge, sir. The tactical officer's voice rises in pitch. The human fleet they just eliminated Battle Group Delta without warning. Before anyone can respond, space itself seems to tear open as hundreds of human vessels materialize within our formation inside our defensive perimeter. Impossible. Zexcal shouts. No species has perfected point-precision jump technology. But the evidence is irrefutable as human warships appear literally alongside our vessels, weapons already firing. Not random attacks, but precisely targeted strikes against engines, command centers, and weapon arrays. All ships, defensive protocols. I command, but it's already too late. Our magnificent fleet, the pride of the Empire, dissolves into chaos. The humans move with coordinated precision that suggests either incredible training or some form of networked consciousness. Their weapons bypass our shields as if they weren't there. Their targeting systems find weaknesses we didn't know existed. Pull back to Outpost Zex 5. Regroup, and the War Minister's order is cut short as our flagship shudders violently. Multiple impacts, shield generators failing, weapon systems offline. Reports the damage control officer, her exoskeleton clicking in distress. On the tactical display, I watch as the human flagship Queen Elara's vessel moves methodically through our disintegrating formation. Not rushing, not desperate. Patient, deliberate. Like a surgeon removing a tumor. Incoming transmission, announces the communications officer. Queen Elara's face appears on the main screen. No longer is she the desperate princess we conquered decades ago. Her expression is calm, almost serene, as she watches our destruction unfold. Grand Admiral Vexorn, she says. I see you brought friends. How thoughtful. Zexcal pushes forward. Human. I am War Minister Zexcal. In the name of the Emperor, I demand. You demand nothing, she interrupts, her voice ice cold. Your empire demanded. Your empire took. Your empire destroyed. Now we reciprocate. Another series of explosions rocks our ship. How? I ask simply, professional curiosity momentarily overriding my shock. How did you build this force? How did you develop this technology? A small smile touches her lips. You assumed I fled to the Outer Rim alone, Admiral. I did not. 200,000 colonists escaped Nova Esperanza during your bombardment. Scientists, engineers, military personnel. The best minds of our world. But the resources required, I begin. Oh, we had help, she replies. You see, the Zar'keth have a remarkable talent for creating enemies. Over the past 30 years, I have visited 27 worlds your empire has conquered or destroyed. I have gathered refugees, survivors, and rebels. I have built alliances with species you thought exterminated. I have collected technology your arrogance led you to overlook. On the tactical display, our fleet continues to disintegrate. 3/4 of our ships are already destroyed or disabled. Retreat. Orders War Minister Zar'keth all remaining vessels. Full emergency jump to the Zar'keth homeworld defense perimeter. The few ships still capable of faster-than-light travel begin to disappear from the battlefield. Our flagship, too damaged for escape, remains behind with dozens of other crippled vessels. Queen Elara watches this with detached interest. Run by all means. Warn your emperor, it will change nothing. The transmission ends. Through the viewport, I watch as the human fleet reorganizes with frightening efficiency, then vanishes in a synchronized jump. Where did they go? Demands Zar'keth, his composure shattered. Track them. Sir. The sensor operator's voice trembles. Long-range arrays show the human fleet has appeared at Kolnar colony. They are already breaching the planetary defense grid. Kolnar, one of our most heavily fortified colony worlds, has population 8 billion. Over 40 orbital defense platforms. It's a garrison of 500,000 elite warriors. Impossible, whispers Zar'keth. The journey would take days, even at maximum hyperspace velocity. But the reports keep coming. Kolnar's defenses overwhelmed in hours. Then Vexar Prime. Then the shipyards at Drazak. One by one, worlds we considered impregnable fall to the human armada. The most disturbing is the pattern. They aren't randomly attacking. They are following the exact historical sequence of our empire's expansion, targeting the worlds we conquered in reverse chronological order, working their way methodically back toward our homeworld. As our crippled flagship drifts among the debris of our defeated fleet, I realize with crushing clarity what Queen Elara is doing. She isn't just seeking revenge. She's erasing us from history, just as we tried to erase her world 30 years ago. It took 6 days for emergency rescue vessels to retrieve us from our crippled flagship. 6 days of drifting among the wreckage of our once proud fleet, watching distant flashes of light as more Zar'keth worlds fell to the human armada. 6 days for reality to slowly crush my long-held beliefs about our species' inherent superiority. Upon returning to Zar'keth Prime, I find the capital in chaos. The magnificent calm that has defined our civilization for millennia has evaporated, replaced by something we Zar'keth rarely experience: fear. 23 colony worlds lost in under a week, reports Intelligence Director Azure in the Emergency War Council. His normally immaculate uniform shows signs of neglect unprecedented for a high official. Kolnar, Vexar Prime, Drazak, all our major military installations in the outer systems gone. The Emperor paces the council chamber, his massive form casting shifting shadows across the strategic display. Where once that display showed our glorious empire in dominant purple, now large sections pulse in ominous red. Impossible, he repeats for perhaps the 100th time. No single species could inflict such damage. They must have allied with the Arcturus Confederation or the Thalassian Dominion. Intelligence suggests otherwise, Your Radiance. I interject carefully. All evidence indicates this is solely the human fleet, though they appear to have incorporated technology and personnel from multiple species, primarily those we have conquered over the past century. The Emperor's secondary mouth emits a hiss of contempt. Are you suggesting these mammals have united our former enemies against us? That appears to be exactly what Queen Elara has accomplished, I confirm. Her fleet includes ships of Jaxiri design, Orion weapon signatures, even what appears to be modified Cygnus shielding technology. War Minister Zar'keth, his status significantly diminished after our defeat, gestures to the display. Regardless of their composition, they are advancing in a clear pattern, methodically eliminating worlds in the reverse order of our conquest. They will reach the Vraxis system within 2 days. Then we shall meet them there with overwhelming force, the Emperor declares. Summon the reserve fleet. Deploy the Extinction-class dreadnoughts. Activate the warrior breeding chambers to accelerate production of fresh troops. Your Radiance, I begin cautiously. Conventional military response may not be effective against this threat. Their technology surpasses ours in key areas. They have demonstrated tactical innovations we haven't encountered before. Perhaps negotiation. Negotiation? The Emperor's roar silences the entire chamber. With inferior beings? With a human? Never. The Zar'keth Empire does not negotiate. We conquer. We dominate. We exterminate. No one dares speak as the Emperor's breathing apparatus labors to cool his enraged system. We deploy the planet killers, he finally commands. A collective gasp escapes the Council. The planet killers' reality disruptor weapons that tear apart the fabric of space-time have been used only twice in our history, and only against uninhabited worlds as demonstrations of power. Your Radiance, the Science Minister protests, the planet killers are unpredictable. Deploying them near populated systems could cause catastrophic chain reactions. Our simulations suggest. Your simulations failed to predict a human female commanding a fleet that could challenge us, the Emperor snaps. Deploy them immediately. Target the human flagship. End this insult to our supremacy once and for all. Within hours, 3 Extinction-class dreadnoughts, each carrying a planet killer, depart for the Vraxis system. I watch them go with a growing sense of dread. This is a mistake, I say quietly to Intelligence Director Pre-Azure as we leave the Council chamber. He glances around nervously before responding. The humans have demonstrated remarkable adaptation to our weapons technology. Our analysis suggests they may already have countermeasures for the planet killers. Based on what evidence? Their attack pattern. They have specifically targeted and captured our weapons research facilities first, downloading data before destroying the installations, and intercepted communications suggest they refer to our planet killers as, and I quote, "those cute little space rippers." My primary heart nearly stops. They knew about the planet killers? And they are not concerned? Prazure's neck frills flatten in distress. Worse. Intelligence suggests they may have been baiting us to deploy them. 2 days later, his words prove prophetic. The 3 dreadnoughts arrive at Vraxis, deploy their planet killers against the human fleet, and the weapons simply vanish, absorbed by some unknown technology on the human vessels. Before our dreadnoughts can retreat, they are systematically destroyed. Queen Elara sends a galaxy-wide broadcast afterward, her face serene as she addresses not just the Zar'keth, but all species. Today, the Zar'keth attempted to deploy weapons that tear apart reality itself, weapons that threatened not just their targets but all life in this sector of the galaxy. We have neutralized this threat permanently. Let all civilizations bear witness to their recklessness and our restraint. The implication is clear and devastating. They could have turned our own planet killers against us. They chose not to. The Emperor, rather than recognizing this demonstration of both superior power and moral authority, doubles down on his refusal to acknowledge humans as worthy opponents. Prepare for ground invasion, he commands. They may have space superiority, but no species can match the Zar'keth warrior in physical combat. We shall meet these humans with tooth and claw if necessary. As I leave the council chamber, I realize we are witnessing something unprecedented in our history. An emperor leading us not to glory, but to extinction. It happens during what our ancient traditions call the time of reflection, that brief period when all 3 of Zar'keth-HFY-PRO's moons align, bathing our world in purple twilight. For generations, it has been considered a sacred time, a moment when the universe itself acknowledges Zar'keth's supremacy. Today, that sacred light is interrupted as every communication device on our homeworld activates simultaneously. Personal terminals, military channels, entertainment networks, even the ancient ceremonial broadcast systems in our temples all hijacked with embarrassing ease. Queen Elara Vega appears on every screen. No longer in military attire, she wears what appears to be formal diplomatic dress, white and silver, adorned with symbols I don't recognize. Behind her stands a diverse collection of beings, humans, yes, but also representatives of at least a dozen other species. Species I personally helped subjugate. People of the Zar'keth Empire, she begins, her voice calm and measured. I am Queen Elara Vega, formerly Princess of Nova Esperanza, a human colony your forces destroyed 30 years ago. In the Imperial Palace, where I stand among the Emperor's advisors, there is stunned silence at this unprecedented breach of our communications security. My fleet now surrounds your homeworld and the remaining 11 planets of your empire. Your military has been decimated. Your defenses have failed. Your leadership has led you to the brink of extinction through their arrogance and cruelty. And the Emperor roars in rage, but there is nothing he can do. We all watch, transfixed. You have been told that you are superior, that domination is your birthright, that the suffering of lesser species is irrelevant. For 12,000 years, you have carved a bloody path across this galaxy, destroying civilizations, exterminating entire species, enslaving billions. Images begin to play alongside her words, recordings of Zar'keth conquest campaigns. I recognize many of them. Some I personally commanded. This is Nova Esperanza, she continues as footage shows our bombardment of her homeworld. Massive firestorms sweeping across continents. Cities reduced to ash. 17 million dead in a single day. My parents, my siblings, my people. More images follow. The biological purge of Jaxir IV, the orbital bombardment of the Orion colonies, the enslavement of the Cygnus. Atrocity after atrocity, presented without commentary, the facts speaking for themselves. For the first time, I see these events not through the lens of imperial glory, but through the eyes of those on the receiving end of our weapons. Something uncomfortable stirs in my consciousness. I could do to your worlds what you did to mine, Queen Elara says, her voice now soft but still reaching every corner of the empire. My advisors have suggested exactly that. An eye for an eye. A world for a world, extinction for extinction. She pauses, looking directly into the camera. But that is not who we are. That is not the future we choose to build. A document appears beside her image, a formal diplomatic proposal. These are my terms for your surrender. They are non-negotiable, but they are merciful. The Zar'keth species will survive. Your civilization will continue. But your empire ends today. The terms scroll across our screens. 1. Immediate abdication of the Emperor and dissolution of the imperial government. 2. Complete demilitarization under supervision of the allied species coalition. 3. Return of all conquered worlds to their native populations where possible. 4. Reparations to be paid from the imperial treasury to affected worlds. 5. Zar'keth society to be confined to their original 3 worlds until rehabilitation is complete. 6. War criminals to face justice before an interspecies tribunal. You have 6 hours to accept these terms, she concludes. Should you refuse, we will have no choice but to proceed with complete military conquest. The choice between a humbled future and no future at all rests with you. The broadcast ends, leaving an unnatural silence across our world. Preposterous. The Emperor finally bellows. We will never surrender to inferior beings. We will fight to the last warrior. But as I look around the council chamber, I see something unprecedented in Zar'keth officials' doubt. The footage whispers the culture minister beside me. Those recordings of our conquests. Did we really? Yes, I reply quietly. We did all of that, and worse. For 12,000 years, we Zar'keth have believed ourselves the heroes of a glorious cosmic saga. Today, for the first time, we are forced to consider that we might be the villains. The 6-hour deadline passes with predictable results. The Emperor, in a broadcast of his own, responds to Queen Elara's terms with a speech about Zar'keth destiny and superiority that might have inspired our forces once. Today, it rings hollow even to my ears. Grand Admiral Vex Orn, he commands as his speech concludes, "You will lead our remaining forces in defense of the homeworld. Demonstrate to these humans the true might of Zar'keth warriors." And so here I stand on the command deck of the unyielding Dominion, our last functional capital ship, surrounded by the remnants of our once great navy. 317 vessels of various classes, all that remains of the 12,000 warships that once enforced our will across the galaxy. The human fleet has entered the outer defense perimeter, reports Tactical Officer Vraxul. They are proceeding slowly in standard attack formation. Slowly? I question. Why not use their jump technology to bypass our defenses entirely? Unknown, sir. They appear to be taking their time. I study the tactical display, suspicion growing. Show me their approach vector. The display zooms out, revealing the human fleet's path toward our world. They are proceeding in a specific pattern, weaving between our defensive installations rather than destroying them outright. They are hurting us, I realize aloud. Deliberately channeling our forces into a specific configuration. For what purpose, sir? Asks my executive aide. I don't know, but we are not going to play along. Signal all vessels. Dispersal pattern Vex Omega. Maximum randomization of positions. As our ships begin to break formation, the human fleet suddenly accelerates, not to attack, but to establish a perfect spherical formation surrounding our capital. Sir, Communications Officer Tra Lon's voice rises in alarm. We are detecting massive energy buildups in the human vessels. Some kind of synchronized power transfer between ships. Before I can respond, a shimmering energy field begins to manifest between the human ships, growing until it forms a complete sphere around our world and defensive fleet. They have created a containment field, I realize with growing horror. We are trapped. Incoming transmission from the human flagship, announces Tra Lon. Queen Elara appears on our view screen, now in full military attire. Grand Admiral Vexorn, your Emperor has rejected our terms as expected. We will now proceed with the final phase. What is this technology? I demand. No species has developed containment fields of this scale. As I told you before, Admiral, I have had 30 years and the combined knowledge of dozens of species your empire tried to destroy. This particular innovation combines Cygnus phase technology with principles developed by my own scientists. You are containing us to prevent escape before your attack, I surmise. A slight smile touches her lips. Not exactly. The tactical display suddenly lights up as thousands of smaller vessels detach from the main human fleet, penetrating the containment field and swarming toward our defensive positions. All ships, combat stations. I order. Planetary defense grid. Maximum output. Our remaining vessels move to intercept weapons firing. The orbital defense platforms that ring our world activate, sending lances of destructive energy toward the incoming human ships. But something is wrong. The human vessels don't evade. They don't return fire. They simply absorb our attacks. Sir, our weapons are having no effect. The enemy ships appear to be using some form of energy conversion technology. As I watch in stunned disbelief, the human vessels attach themselves to our ships and defense platforms, not attacking, connecting. They are hacking our systems, reports the cybersecurity officer, his voice rising in panic. Bypassing encryption we thought impenetrable. One by one, our ships fall silent, weapons and engines disabled. The planetary defense grid powers down. Even the unyielding Dominion systems begin to falter. They disconnect all computer interfaces. I command, revert to manual control. Too late, sir. They have already. The lights on the command deck flicker and die, replaced by emergency illumination. The main view screen reactivates, showing Queen Elara. Your defense has been neutralized, Admiral, she states calmly. Your remaining ships have been disabled without destruction. Your defense grid is under our control. Your communications network is ours. I stare at the tactical display now operating independently of our ship's systems, showing the complete immobilization of our forces, not through violence, but through technological superiority so advanced it might as well be magic. You could have simply destroyed us, I say quietly. Why this approach? Because unlike the Zar'keth, we don't believe in unnecessary slaughter, she replies. Every disabled ship represents thousands of lives spared. Every defense platform taken intact means fewer civilian casualties from falling debris. Around me, my officers watch in stunned silence as human boarding parties appear on our internal sensors, moving through our vessel with precise efficiency. Your emperor refused our generous terms. Queen Elara continues. Now we implement our original plan. The complete dismantling of the Zar'keth Empire culturally, politically, and militarily. Through the viewport, I watch as human ships descend toward the imperial palace. Not with weapons firing, but in a controlled, methodical approach. This isn't a chaotic conquest. This is a surgical operation. I don't understand, I admit. You have every reason to annihilate us as we would have annihilated you. Why show restraint now? Because this was never about revenge, Admiral, and it was about justice. About ensuring you can never harm another species again. Her expression softens slightly, and perhaps, in time, about rehabilitation. The command deck doors slide open, revealing human soldiers in advanced combat armor. Their weapons remain lowered, not threatening, merely present. I believe that's checkmate, Admiral, Queen Elara says. Now, shall we discuss the future of your species? As I surrender my ceremonial weapon to the human commander, I realize we have lost more than a war. We have lost the narrative we have told ourselves for 12,000 years that our dominance was inevitable, our superiority unquestionable. In the face of human innovation, determination, and most surprisingly mercy, that narrative lies in ruins. Just like our empire. The human transport shuttle cuts through Zar'kethia Prime's atmosphere with barely a tremor, further evidence of their technological mastery. Through the viewport, I watch as the gleaming spires of our capital, once symbols of our eternal dominance, now serve as docking points for human vessels. The great statues of former emperors that lined the avenue of conquest have been toppled. The imperial banner no longer flies from the Grand Citadel. All this in less than a day. My escort consists of 4 human soldiers and 1 Jaxiri commander, a member of a species we nearly exterminated 2 centuries ago. The Jaxiri watches me with undisguised contempt, but makes no move toward violence. The humans remain professionally detached. Where are you taking me? I finally ask, my translator implant rendering my complex speech patterns into their primitive language. To meet the Queen, replies the Jaxiri commander, her facial tentacles rippling with suppressed emotion. Consider yourself fortunate, Zar'keth. Under your regime, enemy commanders were publicly dissected. I cannot dispute this fact. I have personally ordered such executions. The shuttle lands in what was once the Emperor's private courtyard. As I'm led through corridors I have walked 100 times before, I notice subtle but significant changes. The propaganda displays extolling Zar'keth's superiority have been replaced with practical information screens. The ceremonial guard posts stand empty. In their place, mixed-species security teams patrol with quiet efficiency. We enter the Imperial Audience Chamber, now clearly repurposed as an operational headquarters. Where the Emperor's throne once dominated, a circular command center hums with activity. Beings of at least 15 different species work at various stations, coordinating what appears to be a massive planet-wide operation. And there, standing at the central holographic display, is Queen Elara Vega. Up close, the human monarch is both more and less impressive than I expected. Physically unimposing by Zar'keth standards, barely reaching my secondary thorax, yet possessing a presence that draws all eyes in the chamber. Her silver white hair forms an elaborate crown-like structure without artificial adornment. Her uniform is practical but carries subtle insignia I don't recognize. Grand Admiral Vexorn, she acknowledges as I'm brought before her. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Was there an option to decline? I ask, my secondary mouth emitting a hiss of derision. No, she admits with surprising candor. But you could have made it difficult. The fact that you came willingly suggests you understand your situation. She dismisses my escort with a gesture, then turns to the other personnel in the room. Leave us. Security protocols remain in effect. Once we are alone, she studies me with those unnervingly direct human eyes. Do you remember the day you conquered Nova Esperanza, Admiral? One conquest among many, I reply automatically, then pause. But yes, I remember. Tell me what you remember. Something about her tone compels honesty. I remember a standard orbital bombardment. Your defensive capabilities were minimal. Your military technology was several generations behind ours. The campaign took approximately 1/8 the projected time. And what else? She presses. I hesitate. I remember your transmission, your warning. You remember me as a princess, a girl of 17 by human standards, watching her world burn. Her voice remains measured, controlled. Do you know what happened after my escape shuttle fled your bombardment? I shake my head. We drifted for weeks, life support failing. 200 refugees crammed into a vessel designed for 50. 37 died before we were rescued by Orion traders and other species your empire had victimized. She walks to a viewport overlooking the capital city. I spent 5 years living among the Orion, 3 with the Jaxiri, 2 with the remnants of the Cygnus. Everywhere I went, I found stories of Zar'keth cruelty. Entire civilizations reduced to refugee populations, countless species, living in fear of your expansion. The natural order, I say, though the words sound hollow even to my hearing apparatus. The strong dominate the weak. Queen Elara turns back to me, her expression not angry but almost pitying. That philosophy led you here, Admiral. To defeat, to humiliation, to extinction had we chosen that path for you. Why didn't you? The question has been troubling me since our first encounter. Why show mercy when we showed none? Because proving ourselves better than you was always part of the plan. She returns to the central display, bringing up images of various worlds. Look at what your natural order created: dozens of devastated civilizations, billions of displaced beings, countless extinct species. With a gesture, she changes the display to show rehabilitation efforts already underway on former Zar'keth conquest worlds. And here is what we are creating instead: restoration, renewal, cooperation between species your empire taught to hate each other. It won't last, I say, though with less conviction than I intend. Conflict is inevitable. Dominance is the way of the universe. Is it? She steps closer, unafraid despite my physical capacity to end her life with a single strike. Tell me, Admiral, in all your centuries of life, all your conquests, all your subjugation of lesser species, did you ever find true satisfaction? Did your empire ever reach a point where enough was enough? The question strikes something deep in my primary consciousness. The truth is, no, there was always another world to conquer, another species to subjugate, another resource to exploit. What happens to us now? I ask instead of answering. To the Zar'keth? Rehabilitation, she replies simply. Disarmament. Re-education. Eventually reintegration, but not as conquerors, as equals. And if we resist, then you will live out your existence on your homeworld, under quarantine, watching as the rest of the galaxy thrives without you. Her gaze is steady, unflinching. The choice is yours. It always has been. As much as I wish to refute her, to reassert the superiority that has defined my existence, I find I cannot. Not after witnessing the complete dismantling of everything I believed unassailable. And the Emperor? I ask. Will stand trial for crimes against countless species, as will those who knowingly carried out his orders. Her implication is clear, including me. She nods once. Justice requires accountability, Admiral, but it also allows for redemption. For the first time in my long life, I, Grand Admiral Vexorn, conqueror of 17 star systems, subjugator of 32 species, find myself contemplating a future where the Zar'keth are not dominant, where we must coexist rather than command. It is both terrifying and, strangely, liberating. 10 cycles have passed since the day we call the Humbling. A decade since Queen Elara Vega and her fleet of the formerly oppressed brought the mighty Zar'keth Empire to its knees. I watched the proceedings from my observation platform, no longer a command throne, but a simple seat at a circular table where representatives of 27 species discuss matters as equals. My role now carries the undignified title of Cultural Transition Advisor, a position created to help my species adjust to our new reality. The great Imperial Palace has been transformed into the Galactic Cooperation Headquarters, where once only Zar'keth walked. Now beings of all descriptions move freely. The Chamber of Conquest Trophies has become a memorial museum documenting both our atrocities and our ongoing rehabilitation. Many Zar'keths still struggle with this new order. The older generations especially find it difficult to abandon 12,000 years of assumed superiority. Some chose voluntary euthanasia rather than live in a galaxy where they are merely one species among many. Others fled to isolated pockets at the edge of known space, clinging to dreams of eventual reconquest. But the younger generations surprise me. They adapt. They learn. They even form relationships with species we once subjugated. Evolution, it seems, favors flexibility over strength. My own trial concluded 7 cycles ago. For my role in numerous planetary conquests, I was sentenced to a lifetime of public service, helping dismantle the very empire I helped build. A punishment more fitting and more difficult than execution would have been. Queen Elara visits our world quarterly. No longer young, her hair now completely white, she nevertheless retains that commanding presence that first impressed me during our defeat. Today she addresses the Galactic Council about the ongoing restoration of planets damaged during our imperial expansion. The last of the Cygnus refugees return to their homeworld next month, she announces. After 2 centuries of displacement, they will finally go home. I remember ordering the bombardment of that world. Now I'm helping coordinate their repatriation. The irony is not lost on me. Later, at a private meeting, she asks about my species adjustment. The integration reports are promising, Admiral. Your people are adapting faster than projected. We Zar'keth have always prided ourselves on superiority, I reply. Now some seek to be superior at cooperation. Ambition finds new channels. She smiles slightly. And you? Have you found peace with this new order? Peace? I consider the question. No. Understanding, perhaps. We underestimated humans, not just your technology or tactics, but your capacity for both justice and mercy. A mistake we won't make again. That's all anyone can ask, she says. It's that we learn from history rather than repeat it. As I watch her leave, I reflect on the warning I would send back through time to my younger self if such technology existed. Never underestimate a species that turns defeat into determination, that transforms refugee status into a unifying force, that converts righteous anger into calculated justice. And especially, never underestimate a human queen with nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. But then again, had we understood this earlier, we might still be conquerors. Perhaps some lessons can only be taught through defeat. The galaxy is better for our humbling. Even I can admit that now.